Hey family, we've been looking at the show wrong this entire time. The question we should have been asking is not where are they, but when are they?
Saturday night, we're sending you back to the future.
Episode 6 just introduced time travel as well as time paradoxes to the From universe. Elgin is now human trafficking for the Kimono lady. And if you guys want to find out exactly how this all ties into the Ankui kids, give this video a thumbs up and let's start at the beginning. The episode starts off in the immediate aftermath of Tilly's death. Fatima's on the run and the person who's helping her escape is none other than my man Boyd. But can you really blame him because that is his daughter-in-law? However, we're gonna save Boyd for later in the video because my man's is losing all legitimacy and we have to unpack that in its own section later in the video. But Boyd takes her to the cabin in the woods where she'll be safe and he leaves her. But this is Fromsville. You're never safe. So the moment she's alone, that's when the lady in the kimono shows up. This is the first time she's appeared to anybody outside of Elgin. Real interesting thing about her appearing now is she appears after Tilly's died. In this episode, Fatima confirmed what I said in my last video. Whatever's growing inside of her caused her to kill Tilly. Once that thing caused her to kill Tilly, that's when the lady in the kimono started showing up, and it wants whatever it is that's growing inside of Fatima, which proves that Fatima wasn't crazy. Even though the ultrasound didn't see anything, there is something growing inside of her that caused her not only to eat garbage, but to also take out Tilly. And whatever mysterious force is at work led Elgin straight to her. And it managed to use the pre-existing relationship between them to its advantage. To have Fatima follow Elgin to the root cellar, the baby that Fatima's growing is not her own, and it all starts to make sense now. Before Fatima came to Fromsville, she could not conceive, but the moment she found out she was pregnant is when the lady in the kimono first appeared to Elgin. It makes me wonder just how far back this plan actually goes, because in season 2 when Fatima found out she was pregnant, only a handful of people knew. Elgin and Tilly were part of the handful of people, which is why Tilly was overextending herself to help Fatima and try to protect her. But the lady in the kimono really didn't start making her move until Elgin found the camera, which makes me wonder, there's a reason why the camera was stuffed away in the basement. I feel like once the camera came into the picture, that's when she could more effectively communicate with Elgin. The first full sentence she has with him is after she appears in the Fatima picture earlier this season with the proposition that if Elgin helps her, she can help them all go home. And then from that moment on, every time the camera takes a picture by itself, it's her sending Elgin directions. Last episode, it sent him to the root cellar where he found the hidden room where he's gonna trap Fatima in. And this episode, it sends him to the clinic to get a blood transfusion kit, which adds a whole new dimension to what I think is gonna happen next. But I do want to take a moment to shout out the fact that Elgin and Randall squashed their beef, even though I think Elgin is an idiot for listening to the lady in the kimono, because in this town specifically, the creatures are known to lie to you, and you have to take everything they say with a grain of salt. Christopher even agrees with me. But I think Elgin got the blood not to transfuse it to Fatima, but because we saw Fatima actually eating blood a couple of episodes ago, I think it's there to sustain her because Fatima needs to eat either rotten vegetables or blood from what we've seen. Whether she wants to eat or not, Elgin has already overpowered her. He's gonna leave her trapped in that room, and the crazy part is no one knows that room exists except for him. So once he puts her back, he could simply tie her down to the bed, drip feed her blood, lock her in the room and push the wardrobe in front of the door, and Fatima can't escape and no one's gonna know where she is, giving the lady in the kimono ample time to possess her, because I think that's what's gonna happen. The lady in the kimono clearly can't give birth. I mean, look at her. But remember last episode where Elgin asked, is this where it happens? She may have convinced them that she needs to give birth to this quote-unquote child in order for them to get out of there, which always brings us back to the theme of children. And that ties directly into Victor and Tabitha's storyline, because we finally find out what happens to Jasper. Sadly, Jasper doesn't talk. Yep. There goes all my theories. But guys, y'all can hit the subscribe button and we can come up with some new ones. And it also shows us that Victor's memory is super unreliable, because for the first third of the episode, he's just spazzing on Sarah because they can't get Jasper to speak. It's not until Sarah goes and gets Tabitha that they actually have a breakthrough. Since Tabitha and Miranda have such a strong connection, she comes off as a mother figure to Victor, even though Tabitha and Victor should be around the same age. With Sarah's help, she's able to jog Victor's memory a little bit, and they go to the church basement. It's in the church basement that Victor thought Jasper was speaking to Christopher. This entire time, it wasn't Jasper, but the boy in white. And we learn a lot about the children from this conversation, because Victor starts to remember the conversation that the boy in white and Christopher were having. The boy in white was trying to get Christopher to save the children because of a tragedy that happened. The people that the children loved and trusted the most betrayed and murdered them. One of the more interesting parts was, according to Victor, the children were born in the dark and murdered in the dark. If you remember back in season 2 when Miranda and Victor are in the caves, and Miranda sees one of the children in the cave but inside of a cage, tying to what the boy in white was saying to Christopher, born in the dark and murdered in the dark. But before the children were murdered, they were told a story by someone who loved them. We don't know who that person is just yet, and I think that story has to do with the phrase Ankui. I don't know what that means just yet, but they keep repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. And the fact that now we know the story that they were given gave them hope, and they were able to transfer that hope into the root trees, which makes sense when you look at why they keep repeating the word Ankui. It's a word tied to their very hope, into the root symbol that Jade and Christopher kept seeing, and those roots are the roots of the faraway trees, and it all starts to make sense now. They initially wanted Christopher to go to the faraway tree to help them. Christopher refused because he doesn't believe the boy in white. He doesn't believe anything from this town, and I don't blame him either, because every creature in this town has an agenda, even the boy in white. But it's due to Victor overhearing this and then telling his mom what he heard. That was the night she left him in the root cellar and she went out to try to get to the faraway tree, and she died in the massacre. But the interesting thing now though is, if the boy in white didn't send her, would she have gone to the faraway tree and ended up where the kids were, or would she have ended up like Dell? Because that night the boy in white was specifically talking to Christopher and not Miranda. So was she even really chosen, or was it all in her head? Guys, let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section below. But that revelation with the faraway tree ties directly into Julie's storyline. Julie is being drawn to the ruins. She tries to get Randall to come with her, but he doesn't want to go, so she ends up going with Ethan. But even though she's with Ethan, when they're walking, only Julie's transported. When she's transported to that dungeon, her body collapses and starts seizing, which is interesting because her physical body is there, but while she's in the dungeon, she can still physically interact with things. And now we have time travel because Julie is transported back to season 2, episode 1. And now things start to tie together because when Boyd was inside that hole, the mysterious person who threw the rope down in season 1 was Julie this entire time. But it was Julie from season 3 time traveling back. Now that we have time travel in the show, there's so many different places From can go. But while she's there, Martin, the man who's being tortured, knows her name. And he tells her she needs to escape again before they show up. There's always a mysterious day. Julie leaves the dungeon though. She's transported to the caves and you can hear Victor and Miranda from season 2 again. So back in season 2, episode 1, when Miranda and Victor are in the caves and Miranda actually heard someone saying mom, it was Julie all along. Season 3 Julie calling out to season 2 Tabitha. It's really wild how From is tying it all together. The mysteries from the first episode of season 2 being Julie all along, which makes me think about what Jade said last week about predestination, as well as all the dates they've been getting from the bottle tree. I'm starting to think that they're going to start time traveling, and those dates were really actually years in time, which means the ones that have the numbers flipped are alternate universes, which I think makes my theory about alternate universes legit, because if we're time traveling and those are years, some of those years have numbers that are flipped, meaning mirrors and time traveling, which ties into the whole reincarnation theory, but it kind of breaks it a little bit because it's not reincarnation now, it's a bootstrap paradox. I don't want to get too deep and nerdy on time travel because if you go down my channel, you're going to see time travel is my shit. But let me get through this episode, which would also explain why Tabitha as a child has clothes from a different time period, because now I'm starting to believe that Tabitha time traveled. So when Jim went to go confront Jade and had a bottle measuring contest, Jade straight up checked them because 1, Tabitha is a grown woman and has her own agency. 2, Jade is trying to go home, and his theories about predestination, the bottle tree, and maybe alternate universes are all starting to come true. And Jim on the flip side is just another version of Henry. This episode saw the 2 characters actually bonding, and you start to see that they're pretty much the same person. Miranda and Tabitha are the same people. It makes me wonder just how much Henry knows, because before Jim showed up, he was awfully interested in Jade's research and just what Jade was piecing together. I'm still of the belief that Henry's hiding something. He took the LSD with Miranda. He knows about the bottle trees, both of them. And now that he's in Frumsville, it confirms that everything Miranda was saying is real. I think there's more that he's not telling us. Speaking of not telling, if Boyd doesn't tell, Donna's gonna tell, because Boyd's storyline is intense. Boyd chose loyalty to his family over Frumsville. I can't blame him. We're all humans. Some people would do that. But he took a step further. It's not just hiding Fatima, it's the fact that he lied. Acosta and Kenya are legitimately doing an investigation, wasting their time and wasting the town folks' time. Acosta already challenged Boyd last episode. And if she finds out that Boyd knew the murderer and he's letting her loose in town, that's gonna come to head. Kenny already has his issues with Boyd with allowing Sarah to still be in town after what she did to Kenny's father. And Donna checks Boyd on top of that, letting Boyd know that it's off his face and off his name that they let Sarah ride. But not only does Boyd want them to turn the other way when it comes to Sarah, but now he's hiding another murderer, and Donna just flat out says it. The town is losing faith in Boyd. They don't have it as much as they used to. And it brings me back to the first episode of this season. Everything the monsters wanted to do, they're doing. Boyd was the one infallible character that they could not break, but now they're breaking him. I think Boyd's going to lose his position as sheriff, and the town is no longer going to trust him. And I wouldn't trust Boyd either, because Boyd is doing something awfully dangerous and reckless. Granted, it's for family, and he doesn't want to put Ellis through what he had to go through with Abby. Letting Fatima roam free, we know that Fatima's not going crazy, but whatever it is that's growing inside of her, we cannot let that thing loose. And I'm curious as to how they're going to deal with it in the last 2 episodes. But guys, that's just my thoughts on this episode. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and until next time, peace.